What's going on, guys? It's the Money Talk Show with Dane, where we talk about all sorts of interesting topics having to do with money. So, if those are topics that interest you, specifically real estate and crypto, you are in the right freaking place. So, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're here to provide value to you guys to help build and grow communities where we can be the bridge between entrepreneurs, real estate investors to crypto, and vice versa, helping connect crypto people to real estate, and so we're happy to have you guys. Corey, go ahead and intro yourself, man.
Yeah, man. Corey Geary, got a YouTube, Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary. And yeah, just like you, I came from the real estate space. That's where I've started my journey to wealth. Real estate's done really well for me. And now I've kind of transitioned into the crypto space, and it's just been an absolutely blast and amazing. And I feel like this is where the next great transfer of wealth will transpire. And I want to be part of it. And I would love to take 500 of my closest real estate buddies along with a ride with me. So yeah, man, it's just been a blast and I'm happy to be here. So
awesome. We got Hexray Vision on today. We're blessed to have him. We're going to talk about some really cool things. A lot of our content thus far has been pretty crypto specific, but today we're going to integrate a little more real estate stuff. And so this will be a great one, I think, for people to reference that are coming from both ends of the spectrum to be able to see what we'll try to create today, a little bit of a bridge. So Hexray, we appreciate you being on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was just a miserable father of 5 working my butt off in the oil fields and driving truck and doing all sorts of things when I found Bitcoin back in the day around 14, 15. And I thought that it was going to save us from all of our worries and troubles, and it was going to free us from the governments and banks. And spoiler alert, it hasn't happened yet through Bitcoin. But I did learn a lot about crypto, and I learned how to lose a lot of money really fast in crypto, like faster than you do in most places. So eventually, though, I did stumble onto, the Richard Hart and Hex, and I was able to learn a lot of lessons in the 2017 wave, and then retire in the 2021 wave. And so once I retired, I figured, how do I turn this around and as Corey said, bring as many of my friends as possible. And so I set a new goal to help 1 million families reach financial freedom, because crypto is one of the only places where you can outpace inflation and show people real results in a matter of years. And so that's kind of what our whole community is about, is just how do we free as many people as possible.
I love that.
That's my little
powerful
story in a nugget right there.
Corey and I have talked about this a bunch of times. The amount of I can speak for myself specifically. I don't know what Corey's numbers are, but I've gone on, I estimate, roughly 200 lunches over the last 7 years that I've been a real estate investor, where somebody wanted to bend my ear to help them do real estate, to try to change their financial trajectory. And of those roughly 200 lunches, I can name 4 people that actually made any money from real estate. 2 of them were one-hit wonders. The other 2 went on to create businesses. One of them is out of business because real estate has gotten challenging in the last year, and the other is really struggling just because it's a tough market right now. And I've come to the conclusion, or we've both come to the conclusion, that, man, like anybody could, or I should say, very few people are built to become entrepreneurs. It's just hard. Many can't weather those storms and build businesses. But gosh, anybody could understand crypto generally, get a grasp on what a good project is, buy tops and sell bottoms. So really excited to have similar vision to you. Welcome everybody that's jumped on. We've got the Harmonic Hexakin. We've got Jeremy Geary. We're pumped to have you guys as we're working through today. As always, if there's questions or comments, make sure you post them and we'll cover all those types of stuff. Hexer, if you want to lead us off into what you want to talk about today. I know specifically we wanted to talk about crypto versus real estate and the power of dollar cost averaging. Where do you think we should start?
Well, let's start with your posters behind you. Those are sick. First of all, the bull and the bear, those are sick. Corey's jacket's really sick. I'm gonna have to get a link from him at the end of this to get one of those jackets. So shout out to you and the people in chat. You guys are awesome. But I would say, a lot of people they come into crypto and they think it's like stocks, or they think that it's like, I don't know, like forex trading almost, right? So they're just trying to get those pumps, and they turn it into a job. And the weird thing about crypto is the more boring you make it, the more money you actually make. The longer you wait, the longer you sit and watch it grow, the better you're off you are, because of this crazy 4-year cycle. And I like to call it a spikle, because it really spikes really violently when it goes up, and it doesn't stay there very long. So unless you have a plan on the way up to take profits, and you have a plan on the way down in the the bear market where we are now to dollar cost average in, you're just going to be traumatized by its volatility, and you're going to be rich one day and you're going to be poor the next, and you might take your ball and go home at that point, right? Like, you guys have definitely experienced that kind of just insane whipsaw action.
Yes.
So the first thing I would say is find someone who understands these things, or follow someone on YouTube like these guys that understands it's a long game. It's a 7-year plan at least, because that'll give you 2 good waves usually to actually figure this stuff out. And so that'd be a little bit of advice. Now, the other thing that I would warn people is, if you make lots and lots of money in crypto, we're talking like millions of dollars, the first thing you're going to realize is the government is waiting there with their hands out, and they will take as much of it as they can. So even when you win, you lose. And that's where real estate comes in, because everyone I know that's made a decent amount of money in crypto, is myself included, we are now forced to go into the real estate market to find tax advantages and depreciation and write-offs, because there's only so many write-offs. Even with my YouTube channel, I can write a ton of stuff off with my YouTube channel, but it's nothing as close as what you can do with real estate. And so we're turning towards real estate. And then when we run in, like, we went down to a couple seminars in Texas this year to learn about, some syndicates and some multifamily stuff. And they were jumping up and down on their chairs for a 1.5x return and a 2x return. And my wife and I were looking at each other like, what is wrong with these idiots? Like we were blown away that they were freaky, the 3x return, and they were screaming and ripping their clothes off.
Right.
And we're like, what? They're serious? But at the same time, they didn't have the tax problems we have, right? And so we onboarded as many people as we talked to into crypto, because they're looking for gains, they're looking for success, and we're looking for strategies and ways to keep that wealth. So there's this great marriage between real estate and crypto if you're in the US and dealing with a lot of the situations we have in the US. So
let's start with I love what you're saying, and I in fact, I think that's why it's so important to have the bridge between the two. And in fact, it's funny, the more events that Corey and I have gone to, you go to real estate events and everybody wants better gains, and you go to crypto events and everybody wants to get into real estate. And honestly, I didn't understand it at first, especially going to crypto events, and they're like, oh, like, I want to diversify into real estate. And to your point, I'm like, guys, you diversify there, we're talking like, 50% gains over a long period of time, or doubling your money over long periods of time. You get that. I mean, you could get that in a day, theoretically, in crypto, if the market's pretty volatile that day. But to your point, we're understanding more and more and more that, you're going to get slaughtered in taxes if you don't have some strategies. And one of the best ways to be able to offset taxes is through real estate depreciation. In fact, I can speak for myself. I've done well for myself in real estate. I feel good about what I've accomplished, and I haven't had to pay taxes out of my pocket in years now because of the depreciation from rental properties that I've purchased during that time frame, which is pretty cool. If you know how to play the game, then you're rewarded because you understand how to play. And so let's start with strategy though. We've had Randy Hilarski on. We've talked with other people in the community. Feels like everybody has a little bit different profit taking strategy, a little bit different dollar cost averaging in strategy. Let's start with dollar cost averaging in, since we're at or I should say near the bottom of the market right now. Let's start with dollar cost averaging in, and we'll talk about taking profits after we cover this part.
Yeah, definitely. Every day that I wish that I had more Cuatro Cinco stakes, and every day I wish I had more dry powder. All of my 5-year stakes, my 7-year stakes, they just annoy the hell out of me because they're just sitting there, and yeah, it's better to have it, but not. But you look at the interest that your 15-year stake is making, and it's insane. And then you also look at the sacrifices and the deals we're getting right now, and going into, like you said, the next 3 to 6 months is, I think we're going to hit at least some bottom in the next 3 or 6 months. Like the pain's pretty severe, and crypto is a leading indicator. Crypto and stocks are a leading indicator of where the economy is, and real estate's the lagging indicator, right?
Right.
Real estate's the last giant to fall. So when real estate crashes, we're actually on the way back up. Real estate's just slow, especially with the interest rates and the economy and people's, ability to buy housing based on, if they have a job or not. So
now that being said, I want to make a quick point
Yes.
on this. It's been interesting being in real estate, and in fact, I can't tell you how many people I talked to, and everybody said everyone's hedge to like be smarter this time around was to stay out of the luxury market, to focus on the more cost-effective properties, because theoretically those were the last ones to get hit. And I can tell you, everyone that was flipping houses this last year would tell you that the real estate market has already been crashing. In fact, it's been very fast, way faster than any of us anticipated. Yeah. And even my lower end flips, I mean, we got slaughtered very fast. And to put this into perspective, a lot of real estate guys have lost, a lot of money on many deals. I've lost money on one deal before this year, and it was a few $100s. That's it. I'm very conservative in how we approach deal structures. I feel very confident in my ability to find good deals, to be able to budget, and to be able to execute on those deals. And this year, since I haven't been through one of these real estate changes like this as a real estate investor, I got slaughtered, even though I was doing what everybody said should be safer. And it moved quick. It moved in within a matter of 2 or 3 months. Prices had come down, at least here in Utah, like 10%. And that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal.
It shows the bubble. Yeah, it shows the bubble that we were in. I mean, tremendously. Here in Phoenix, I'm in Phoenix, and we are 60% down, offered a contract on the MLS year over year. 60% down, but the price has not reflected yet. We're down maybe around, I would say, 10 to 15% on pricing. We're offered a contract at 60% down. So it's just a matter of time. To your point, Hexray, is that it's a lagging. Price is always lagging with real estate, and it will take maybe even a year more or longer for the pricing to catch up to the demand. It's crazy how real estate works and how slow of a market it is in comparison to crypto, right? And I had some guys here, man. They just got crushed in the flipping game. Had 20 plus houses. That's their whole model, right? I was fortunate enough where the majority of my model was wholesaling and novations, and then we sprinkled in flips. We didn't run a big 20 flip a month operation. We mainly just flipped paper. So it's what saved us a lot. We did lose a little bit on some flips last year, not too much, but I was fortunate. Like we were just flipping the paper for all of 2022. So, but yeah, it's just interesting how, real estate really is a lagging market versus crypto. I'm like you, Hexray. I think crypto is going to be up on its next top when real estate's going to be at its bottom.
Well, and that's what we're hoping for, right? Yeah, if you got a foot in both market. That's how the wealthy get really, really wealthy. The wealthy can sit on something for 20 years until the market conditions are right. They don't need the money,
Yeah.
right? They have so much money and they have their fingers in so many pies that there's always somewhere where they're making a bunch of money and pouring it into something that's on sale. And what it sounds like is in crypto we have front running. And those of you that don't know what front running is, it's trying to beat someone out the door. They're trying to buy it before everyone else buys it, or they're trying to sell it before everyone else sells it. So here in real estate, it sounds like people are learning to front run and get out fast. But wouldn't you be competing against institutions like the banks and the people and insurance companies that have huge amounts of money? Like you're trying to beat them in and out of the market, aren't you, in real estate?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, a lot of the models changed in the last, 4 years or so. You had what's called iBuyers that came in. You had Zillow offers, and you had
Open Door.
Open Door. You had OfferPad. You had these various companies that came in, and in fact, I think at the height of Open Door, I think the stats is they were bleeding. Gosh, I think it was millions of dollars every quarter in losses to be able to get in the game. But the hope was to be able to capture market share. At least locally, we haven't seen them dumping things like I would have anticipated at this point. But I think that there is more pain to come, and we'll see more dumping as things get
seen
harder.
it in Phoenix. In Phoenix, yeah, they're taking huge losses, and I mean, on average, they're losing about $100,000 per property in Phoenix.
Wow.
Literally, Hexray, Open Door, and OfferPad came in and bought the top. That's what they did. They came in. There were big hedge fund money. They came in and bought the top in real estate, and now they're hurting, and they're going to hurt more. It's just going to matter of time. So yes, to your point, Hexray, yes, there will be some funds, so the smart money getting back in, but there also will be some dumb money that will be getting washed out in this next cycle. Like, in my opinion, Open Door, OfferPad that came in and bought the top. This how it is in crypto. I was dumb money at one point in time in crypto and came in and bought the top, and now I learned, and I'm like, okay, I see how the game is played with these cycles. It's the same with these guys. So
Open Door and OfferPad are kind of like Jim. What's his name? The stock dude that's always wrong.
Jim Cramer.
Jim Cramer. So if you guys want to use Open Door and OfferPad as a sign of what not to do, that's like a really good sign.
Or like Michael Saylor with Bitcoin, he used everyone else's money to buy the top. That's what Open Door and OfferPad did. They used everyone else's money to buy the top in real estate, and it's like, oh man, it's just.
We got a comment from Harmonic Hexagon. And in fact, Harmonic Hexagon, you don't need to give us like real specifics, but I'd love to know the general region that you're in and seeing these impacts and price reductions in your market. That'd be interesting to see. So comment below. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing more and more price reductions, and I mean, we've beat this to death already, but more pain to come in the real estate market. And that's the pivot right now is, gosh, like moving from real estate that's going to be lagging and have a lot more pain to come to an asset class like crypto, where we've already gone through, one could argue most of the pain already. Certainly it feels like there's more downside, but man, like I couldn't be more excited about understanding that pivot. And gosh, and Corey and I talk about this all the time, Hexray Vision, but we feel so strongly that we're at the right place at the right time, making the right pivot. It's like sitting on a surfboard in the ocean with very few people that understand where you're at, and watching the wave come in and know it's going to be this monster of a wave that you're going to catch that could sail off into the sunset if you know how to manage it well. And most people just don't want to hear it. They're sitting on the beach.
Well, most people, even the guys that are out on the surfboards with you, you're paddling as hard as you can because you know the wave's coming. You can't even see it yet, right? That's how far away it is for us. We can't see the wave yet, but we're paddling as hard as we can. We look like we're insane. We look like idiots to the people around us because we're doing onboarding conferences. We're like doing streaming, we're interviewing, we're reaching out to people like you guys and learning as much as we can and getting stuff in place for that wave. Right. And to everyone around us, we look like we're insane because we've just lost 97 to 99% of our wealth. They're like, dude, you should probably get a job at McDonald's or go back to trucking. right? They're just like, you've lost big time. But we've been around long enough to know the game. And so I love the surfing analogy because we use that all the time. It's the bear market, where we like to say punch a bear right in the throat, because we're not afraid of the bear. We know the bear doesn't hang around long enough to actually eat everyone in the village. So
Right.
if you can survive the bear running through the village, he's gonna leave, and you're gonna be one of the richest dudes in the village if you're left after the bear rips through there. So
I love it.
a lot of analogies flying around here, folks. It's early.
Yeah.
As these guys know, I set my alarm about 3 times a year now that I'm retired. And this was one of those times. You guys, I wanted to be on here and talk to you guys so much. I set an alarm. So that means a lot, guys. That
That's
means a lot.
awesome. Thank
And I've got
you.
my notepad out, and I've been taking notes. So, it's a good interview.
Yeah. But go back to dollar cost averaging your way in.
Yeah. So in 2017, I stacked as many Bitcoins as I could, and sats, as they say, stacking sats. And we rode the price all the way up to $20,000. And I had a significant amount of wealth, like enough to change my life, probably enough to pay off my credit cards, get out of debt, and really like get ahead. But at that time, the only coin that I knew about was Tether. So there really wasn't any safe place to take profits and hold them. And so I rode that all the way back down to 6K, where I dumped all of my money in, and the next week it fell to 3K. So that's how to not dollar cost average and how not to take any profits, because I was rich and I didn't improve my life at all. It was a painful lesson of like, it was great that I held on to it and had the discipline, but at the same time, I've got 5 kids, and that's my emergency fund and that's my retirement fund all together. So if the transmission goes out on the minivan, or one of the kids has got to go to the ER, or something bad happens, or the roof needs fixed, I got to sell all of my crypto, which is like my only chance of being free in the future. Because like I was stacking Bitcoin in hopes that it would someday go to $1 million, or my pile would become worth $1 million, and then I was going to transition into real estate. And whatever cash flow I got from that $1 million, I was just going to live on till I died. That was my plan for freedom back in the day. So when Hex came along and offered to pay us interest, it was a no-brainer. It was like, okay, this is actually passive income. This is what people that have rentals wish they could do.
Mm-hmm.
That there's nobody that's going to mess up my house in my T-shares, right? Those T-shares are going to pay no matter what. I don't have to like send them to collections or anything. They're just there, right? So you still have to time the market with Hex, but it's this beautiful thing. So after that crazy thing, when I got into Hex and on the 2022 wave, I was, we had the adoption amplifier where I was putting Ethereum in as much as I could. I aped in the first day, which is what we were not supposed to do. But I bought really expensive Hex the first day, but then we saw it just drop and belly out. And it was in that time that Richard Hart was kind of like giving little subtle hints and stuff of like, this seems like a pretty good deal. Like this, I don't know if this is going to go much lower, kind of. And so there was one point where he mentioned some little Easter egg, and I dumped the bulk of it in there. But I also called my wife and I was like, look, we're going to live on like $30,000 a year. Us and our 5 kids.
And what were you living on at the time, to put that into perspective?
What's that?
What were you living on at the time, to put that into perspective?
Well, we had actually
to go to 30.
When I went up into the oil fields, when I found crypto, we were like 150 grand in debt.
Okay.
And so I went up there and we lived lean for a long time, kind of digging ourselves back out of that economy after 08. That was still after 08 that everyone was still kind of reeling. At least the middle class was reeling from 08 for a long time. So I went up there, and that's where I learned a lot of discipline and stuff. But then I went up at this point I was working in the gold mines in Nevada, and I saw this opportunity. I said, because I'd been through the 15 crash, and then this was, the 17 crash. I was like, I know that there's another wave coming. I know there's another Bitcoin happening. And so we just cut back, and every single paycheck that I had, we were just putting everything we could into crypto, just everything right into Hex. And I didn't even understand staking at this point. I just knew that this was a way better deal than Bitcoin. And I saw what Bitcoin had done in 17. So we just started slamming as much money as we could into that before what they call Big Payday. And then right before Big Payday, people came out and said, hey, you need to punt these stakes as long as you can. And so we punted the stakes, and that like doubled our entire bag that we've been saving up to that point. And so it was by dollar cost averaging and taking advantage of the lulls in the market that when it started climbing in 2020, we had more than enough money without the stakes, just in the powder, to last or to survive or really retire. And
so how much of it did you stake? What percentage of your portfolio in Hex did you stake, and what percentage did you keep liquid?
90. So I staked 90%. I kept 10% liquid.
Cool.
And this goes back to taxes, because I was really good at swing trading between Ethereum and Hex, because Hex would spike or Ethereum would spike, and I would just take a small portion, 10% or 50%, depending on what I wanted more of, and I would go into the other asset back and forth. Actually, there was three. So there was USDC, which is where I held like a bunch of powder. And then if Hex was on sale, I'd dump some money into Hex. And if Ethereum was on sale, I'd dump some. And I would just juggle those three, basically. Turns out, if you do that really, really well, that's considered short-term capital gains.
Yep. Trading.
Right.
Yep.
And my tax bill, and as a truck driver, if you work in the right places where no one else wants to work, and you're willing to get the classifications and they call them endorsements, right? So you got different endorsements. You can get like hazmat, which pays really good because no one wants to drive around dangerous stuff. You got doubles and triples. You got like tankers, so you can haul liquid. There's all these different insane ratings you can get, so to speak. So I was making well over $100,000 every year for a decade, just working my guts out. And after short-term trading, we paid more in taxes the next year than I'd ever made before then in 1 year. And that was like the big painful lesson of like, even when you win, you can lose.
What percentage of your money that you made in swing trades did you pay in taxes? Do you know, roughly speaking?
Probably about a third.
Okay.
Like we had
30% usually what
it 40, yeah. It should have been 47%. We should have lost half of it, but we had, we have a ton of kids and, life and a mortgage and things like that. And my wife is also in real estate. She's an agent. So we dug every, tax write-off we could. And that kind of saved us. But at the same time, a piece of me died that day.
Right.
That I handed that much money over to what I consider my financial enemy, which is the federal government. Like they're not here to help you at all. And so you're funding the enemy. And so I would have rather lit that money on fire than send it to the federal government or to the IRS.
Right.
And so, yeah, but the thing, going back to what you were asking, 10% was my powder, my liquid, and then 90% was staked. And
if you could go back, would you do that differently, or are you happy with that ratio?
I would have done it, and I would have found a way to hide it from the government. I mean, that's probably not something I should say on YouTube, but if I just known the game ahead of time, then I could have planned for it. Right. I could have put it into something that was going to give me, I would have put some of it into real estate, honestly. I would have dumped it into syndications because syndications is kind of where you start when you don't know anything, but you have money and you don't want to run in. You don't want to be hands-on. The whole point of retiring was to retire. And a lot of real estate people seem like they're working 3 jobs to make it work. Right.
Syndication is my favorite. We do that with not even real estate, but with other investments too. I love syndicating because I can just give them the money. They're their operator. They do well. And I sit back and, like you said, just be retired.
And because you guys are considered real estate professionals, you're going to use that K1 loss as against your active income.
Right.
Yep.
And it
So
can be
that's a
added back
super
in when you
powerful
go to
thing.
get additional financing as well. And so you could literally depreciate millions of dollars away and then have that all added back in when you go and get more financing. And so it doesn't hurt you for financing purposes like write-offs do, which is a really important distinction. And so if for people that are watching this video, there's a lot of information about becoming a real estate professional. Real estate professional is the official tax or IRS term, if I'm not mistaken. And so we can do a show on that separately if people wanted to, but that's the term you'd want to Google in order to obtain more information. My understanding is that, and I could be wrong because my CPA does all this stuff, but generally speaking, you need to spend a certain amount of hours doing
15 hours a week.
15 hours a week.
15 hours a week, 750 hours a year. You have to spend it on real estate that you don't own like personally.
And
So
is it an and or because I've also heard some people say that if you become a realtor and you're licensed, that it's an and or thing. So you can spend the time or become a licensed realtor.
Well, my wife's a licensed realtor and she still has to spend 15 hours a week.
Okay. So it's not an
you
and
can't
or,
just go get your license and not do anything.
Sure.
You have to get licensed and spend at least 15 hours a week.
That makes sense
for that to count.
Yeah.
But going back, this is what I was trying to, I'm all over the place. I got ADD. So when I put the 10% into liquid and the 90% staked, the 90% always outpaced the 10%, even though we were in a bull market and I was making good trades.
Really?
That 10% became 3%, then 1%, because the T shares were paying so much that you can't keep up with the compound, the compound interest. It outpaces and it beats the best trader out there. So when they say like traders, and that's traders that win, right? The 3% of traders that actually make money, the 97% that are like a mess and losing it, they'd be way better off staking it and waiting and letting the T-share do its work.
And for those of you that are watching that don't know what the T-share is or don't understand it, we're not going to go into a lot of depth on this show about that because we could really get into the rabbit hole. Let it suffice that HEX is kind of like a certificate of deposit on the blockchain. You can buy your HEX, and that's the purpose of HEX, is to obtain T-shares. You buy HEX, and then when you go and you stake HEX, and in return for the HEX that you stake, the HEX is gone, and now you have T-shares instead. And the T-shares earn interest. Once again, kind of like a certificate of deposit at the bank. And then when you served your time with your T-shares, and you choose the time anywhere from a day to about 15 years, then once you've served your time, you get your principal plus your interest back, and you can do whatever you want with it. So let's leave it at that. We could do a whole show on like
another easy way is just think of a T-share as the money printer. They're your HEX money printer. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you're doing. So
I apologize. I'm so used to talking to hexicans that I'm just throwing out all this crypto hex lingo.
No, but it's good though, because our audience needs a little bit more education on all of it. So it's good.
Yeah. And then
and let's recap really quick. So far we've covered a little bit of dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging, for you guys that don't know, just means that rather than going all in at one point in time with your capital into crypto, it's understanding and submitting to the market that you just don't know when the perfect bottom nor top is. And so in order to have a better average buy-in position, you're buying over a period of time. So for instance, if I had $10,000 instead of putting 10 grand all at once, well, maybe I'd buy like $1,000 worth on a daily or weekly or monthly basis based on my strategy and the time in the market type of thing. So that's what dollar cost averaging.
Let me put one point on that, because how powerful dollar cost averaging is. I started my HEX journey when HEX was at like 33 cents. So that's when I bought HEX for the first time. Through dollar cost averaging. Now, I didn't dollar cost average all the way down. I waited to a big, a large dip down. I've got my dollar cost average, my cost basis. I'm now about 3.5 cents from so you could see, you just imagine how powerful that is. And you're frustrated, you're upset, you bought the top. Okay, sit back, educate yourself how markets work, where you're at in the market, and then now plan a good DCA strategy. And that's what me and Dane have been teaching the space and
Right.
talking about, and so that's how powerful that is, from 33 cents all the way. That's a 10x. I mean,
Right.
difference from when I got into
And in
Hex.
fact, we'll have to do, and maybe we'll have you on again, Hex-Ray Vision. We'll do a whole show just on dollar cost averaging, and
So powerful.
we'll show you guys the actual math of how that works out. When I was newer in crypto, I remember watching a bunch of streams, and they're like, "Oh, like I got my position way better," and I was like, "But did you really?" And once you understand the math, it's actually pretty simple. So we'll do a different show on how to put that together, because I know that we're going to run out of time today, just from the amount of questions that I want to ask that I think are a little more pertinent. So yeah, that'll be good. So we've covered dollar cost averaging into the market, and you gave a great example, Hex-Ray Vision, about how Bitcoin dipped to $6,000. You went all in, and then it went in half from there. And so give just a really quick example, so we see what you did wrong. How would you have done that differently? What should have your dollar cost averaging looked like in that example?
Yeah, I had like 8 or 9 grand, probably around 10 grand that I was going to put in the market that I'd saved up to invest. And I thought that I could read the chart, and I saw it go sideways, which is usually what it does on the bottom, is it goes sideways and then climbs back up. So I was like, oh, this is the bottom. And I dumped it all in, all roughly 10 grand. And like you said, it halved. So I instantly got half as much Bitcoin as I could have. Right there.
And that's a huge difference.
Yeah. Imagine that you were able to buy a apartment complex for 600 grand. So you go and you buy it, and then the next week it's literally 300 grand. Just think about that. That's literally the numbers we're working with here.
Right.
Now, had I taken that 10 grand, and even if I really thought it was the bottom of the market, let's say I put half of it down, 5 grand into the market. If it had started climbing, then I would have been happy that I caught 6 grand.
There you go.
And then if it fell, well, now I can put 5 grand in at the new price. Right. So if you were to take it, even if you'd start with putting half down and then cutting the other 50% into 5 chunks, that would have saved me a lot. But really, optimally, you'd want to take that and kind of think of your time frame. Like, if you know you've got at least 10 months before the market's probably going to start going up again, like really climbing, you can easily chop that 10 grand into 1 grand chunks. So if I would have put 1 grand in every month, I would have gotten an insane deal on that Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
So that would really be the real dollar cost averaging is doing it that way. Just saying, I'm going to buy this much at this day, no matter what the price is.
So powerful. I mean, that's why Warren Buffett does it. He talks about it too. He dollar cost average stocks. He dollar cost average in the bear market, and he sells in the bull market. He dollar cost average out.
Yeah.
It's a powerful strategy that's been around forever.
Yeah. Really quick, Harmonic Hexagon responded. She says she watches Florida, Tennessee, and parts of California. She checks on other random cities. Last year, I started seeing reductions of 5 to 35K depending upon original price range. Interesting. Yeah, thanks for that. That's really helpful. We got just a few more people. Let's go ahead and mention these. Would love to see a Mad Gains tax real estate tutorial. Absolutely. Let's do it. In fact, Hex-Ray, we're going to be on your show in, is it next week? I think it's next week, right?
I'm pulling up my calendar right now. Yeah,
I believe it's Monday.
No, Monday is Face and Reality, and I'll be streaming with you guys tomorrow. No, sorry, that's today. Oh, next Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday the 18th.
So we'll take some of, if it's all right with you, Hex-Ray, it's your show, so you make the decisions next week. But I'd love to rope in some of this feedback into that show. That'd be cool.
Yes, definitely that. And I've got it at 2 p.m. I believe it's 2 p.m. We'll be doing that.
Okay, cool.
On
so
Wednesday.
We got Tin Top on. What's up, Hexagons? Appreciate you, man. So really quick, one of the things, oh, and then we got Hex Addict. Excellent stream today. Appreciate it, man. Glad, or maybe woman. Great to have you on the show today. I want to address one thing that I think couldn't be more freaking wrong, but runs rampant in the Hex community when it comes to dollar cost averaging. There's these guys on Twitter that wear it like a badge of honor, where they're like, oh, I've been dollar cost averaging the whole way down this whole like year. And I'm like, well, you obviously don't understand the 4-year cycles or how crypto works. And that's not a good thing. Like you couldn't have screwed that up too much worse, in my opinion. I think that it's relatively easy to be able to look at charts and at the 4-year cycles. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the guy that has more experience here than me and Corey. But what we've been focusing on and what we think makes a whole lot more sense is, you given it like a year to a year and a half after that crypto top before really start dollar cost averaging in and going heavy again, because that's generally what the markets have done in the past, rather than buying the whole dip down and having arguably far worse positions. What's your opinion on that?
Corey, right? No, I'm you. Not me.
Oh, no,
I've already kind of given my.
Yeah, what's your opinion?
I've given my example. It is powerful. Like I didn't dollar cost all the way average down. The only way I was able to get my 33-cent cost basis down to the 3 to 4 cent range is because I did wait. Right. To Dane's point, if I had a dollar cost all the way down, I'd probably be at like maybe a 15 or 10. Who knows what the cost basis would have been? It would have been lower than 33 cents for sure, but it wouldn't have been 3 cents.
Right.
I would say dollar cost averaging down is better than not getting in the market at all. Sure. Because we usually do see, usually the bottom of the next cycle is still higher than the peak of the last one, except for in Bitcoin now. Bitcoin and Ethereum were big enough to where they're actually dipping below the last crest or the last peak. But for a lot of people, if it depends on how emotional you are. Like Corey seems like a guy that is not going to be chasing and reacting to his emotions and like almost like a gambling mentality. Because there's a lot of people that would wait for the crash, but they'd wait too long, and then it would start climbing up the other side or do a false pump, and they'd grab it. They wouldn't dollar cost average in, even though that was the plan, right?
Sure.
So for people that are
in the past,
revenge trading and revenge buying and revenge selling, right? There's a lot of that, and most people have experienced that. So if you're someone that is gonna, is more emotional or newer, it's better to just dollar cost average in no matter what the price, going down, going up.
But I would even go so far as to argue that your example, you'd still be better off. So for instance, Hex top is roughly 50 cents. Rather than buying the whole way down and getting an average of maybe like, let's stick with what Corey said, let's say 15 cents. Well, even if it dips to like, I think it dipped to like 0.018 cents, and then say it pumps to 5 cents. And you're like, okay, I'm back in. Like that would be a better position than a dollar cost averaging clear down from the top. You know what I mean?
It would, but if it started going down again, they're probably going to try selling. And picking it up.
It's a very good
lower than the previous low.
They're not controlling their emotions at that point.
Yeah, their emotions are their dopamine and their cortisol are making the buys, not their brain. And so, like I said, it just depends. Like it's always better to get in the market, period, and learn from that, and hopefully last long enough to see some ad gains. But yeah, it depends on your personality. Like if you're emotional, just put it on automatic and don't think about it. Try not to think about it. Don't even look at the price until you go into put the buy button, right? But if you are a little more, or if this isn't your first rodeo and you're like, oh, that wrecked me last time, this time, then maybe you do wait for an actual like signal. Like in the comments, Hexatic is saying, are we headed for 11K in prey? And he's referring to the price of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is it just swings the whole market with it. Bitcoin is still so big and so much economic energy that when it crashes, everything pretty much crashes, And so if Bitcoin did go down to 11K or I think it could easily spike down to 8K. Then that would drag Hex down to below a penny, probably.
Yep. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I would love that buying opportunity. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then he says, Tin Top's asking when Spike will start. Well, the next halving of Bitcoin is supposed to be the end of 23, beginning of 24. And that's usually, that's what people are usually looking for, is that pendulum to swing back and forth. And that's usually when we're at the bottom of that next crazy spike, is right around that area, 3-6 months around that area. So a lot of people are looking for 24 and 25 to be the crazy spike next time.
Yeah,
I agree with that, because also I imagine some point the Fed's going to pivot. We had talked about that a little bit earlier. Maybe 2 and 3 we still raise rates, but I mean at some point it's going to pivot. Might happen in the end of 23, might happen in 24, and then in 24 another really bullish sentiment to me is the presidential elections. That's going to be happening right around Bitcoin halving. It's just all lining up. To me, I feel like a super cycle. But
yeah. Well, and there's usually about an 8-year cycle in real estate that also lines up right there with 24, where hopefully they're, getting their damage and they're being bashed on the rocks right around that time, giving the presidential, candidate something else to claim they're going to fix. So,
always.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about one thing that I'd love your input on. So you're obviously really big on Hex and the T-share and earning interest from that. I loved your perspective on your swing trades versus staking your Hex, and the fact that that's been more profitable to be staking your Hex out. I was arguing with this guy on Twitter, and I
remember this.
I would love, if I'm wrong, then I would love for you to tell me, but I don't think I am, and I feel very strongly. But I would gladly take a piece of humble pie if I'm wrong on this. So there's some of these guys on Twitter that propagate this idea that they're like, it's always a good time to buy Hex, and it's always a good time to stake and stake it out for 15 years. You can the T-share rate's always going up. Well, I get it. I get the narrative. I understand it. That being said, even with the T-share having changed from me creating my Hex stakes and my staking ladder that I created over a year ago now, I could get 10 times the T-shares that I bought back then if I would have had that same capital and bought today. So even with the T-share rate changing a little bit, if I would have created that, if I would have waited and understood the market cycle and created that staking ladder today, well, I would argue that that was a terrible time for me to buy Hex. And that was a terrible time to create a staking ladder. And I wish I would have known better to be able to save that capital to create a staking ladder today instead. But if I'm wrong, I'd love some varying insider input.
Well, I agree. If it's definitely better to buy your T-shares in the bear market, even though the price does go up. Because I mean, right now, the first when Hex came out, it was 10,000 Hex for one T-share. So you would lock up 10,000 Hex, you'd get one T-share, not counting the bonuses of longer pays better and bigger space. The bonuses for the length, how long you lock it up for,
and then EES is too.
Yeah. So, but now it's around 25,000. So it's 2.5 times more Hex to get the same T-share, right? Now in dollar cost, in the price of dollars, it's down, but in the price of Hex, it's always up. So on one hand, if you're thinking in a 7-year term, like you're like, okay, I'm going to ride this for 2 waves, 2 spikes, you can buy 50-cent Hex at the top and stake it and get your T-shares at that time. And in 7 years, that's going to be a good deal.
Right. That's fair.
So in that way, they're right. It is always a good day to get a T-share and hang on to it and stake it out for the future. But as you said, you're in real estate, so you're always looking at like there's more than one factor in real estate when it comes to making a deal good. Like you can have a building that seems overpriced, but if there's other factors that make up for that price, you're going to buy it.
Right.
And there might be a house that looks cheap, and you dig into it and you're like, oh, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot
There's
pole
literally
because
property
yeah,
you
it's
couldn't even take if you could get them for free.
even cheap, it's
Yeah.
overpriced, right? You're like, that is like poison right there. That's a money pit, right?
Right.
Or whatever it is that makes it not a good investment. So, but in Hex, it's much simpler. You have the price of Hex, and you have the T-share rate, which always goes up. Which the reason that the T-share rate always goes up, it's to simulate compound interest. We needed to make sure that if I locked up my Hex for 1 year, someone couldn't come along and lock and unlock that Hex. You know, not 300. You can't do it every day, but if they just unlocked it for a day, they could try to out earn me, where
Right.
they shouldn't be able to, because one's rewarding, long term delayed gratification, and the other one is like being a trader mentality, right? Trying to go in and get what you can and get out. And so that's why you always have to put more Hex in to get those money printers and to earn that interest. Right. So you're right. If you go in right now, you can actually see a T-share chart in US dollars. And the best day on earth was day 33 and day 43. You could get one T-share for 60 cents.
Jeez.
Wow.
So you could buy a T-share for 60 cents on that day. And then at the top, when it was 50 cents a T-share, it was $10,000 for the same T-share.
Yeah.
That's
And
So
it's around
if you're-
500 right now. I think it is. It's between $500 and $600 per T-share right now.
Yeah. So that compared to 10,000, that's a pretty good deal.
Still a good. Oh,
If
yeah.
you're
That's
buying
why
a mentor,
I'm DCA.
Yeah, every day you buy a money printer is awesome, because
Yep.
if you don't buy a money printer, you're not going to be able to compete with the Federal Reserve, because that's all they are.
Sure.
I think there's something to be said too, Dane, is that if you're coming into space and really educating yourself, you're understanding the market cycles, then a more educated crypto investor would wait for the bear market and get a better deal on his T-shirts. But if you're talking to the average Joe who's just a retail trader and we're trying to convince him to be more of a buy and hold type guy, then I think Hexray is probably more accurate, where they almost any time could be a good time for that guy to start accumulating some T-shares, because he's just got a trader mentality. He's a retail guy. He doesn't want to educate himself about the space that much. And then at that point, it could be more advantageous for him just to buy the T-shirt at any point in time where we're at in that market cycle. So it's just depending how much someone is willing to do it as far as education. Obviously, if someone is educating themselves, they do ignore some of the narrative and go in and buy it when it's the best time to buy. Like I am DCAing right now. I feel like we could have another leg down. I think you're right, Hexray. We could see below a penny, but that's okay. I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to accept that now at my DCA point now. And if it goes another leg down, I save some powder also for that. But I'm also going to DCA now because I am admitting to myself, like we talked earlier, I don't know where the bottom's at. I don't know where the top's going to be. And so I think now is a great time to start DCAing into Hex. Around 2 cents is a beautiful buy price for me. So to get that DCA in. So, but yeah, it's great to look at both perspectives. And the smart money right now is the time to buy it. Not when Hex was at 50 cents, 30 cents. When I was buying Hex at 30 cents, I wasn't smart money, to be honest with you.
We were exit liquidity.
I was exit
Smart
liquidity.
money.
I was retail. I was retail. I was just learning, and that's fine because everyone needs to learn somewhere. I did it in real estate, man. My third deal, I bought 4 houses all at once. I lost $250,000. It set me back to zero. I had to learn how to wholesale to get myself out of that hole. And that's what how I learned my lesson. It was the same in crypto, man. I came in and I lost a bunch of money right in the beginning, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I need to sit back. I need to learn how this works. If I want to participate and turn this into a wealth, generating machine for me and my family, legacy wealth, I need to learn. And it's just like anything else. It's just you got to sit back, learn, hang around smarter people. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. That's why I love having people like Hexray on the call, because now I'm learning.
Right. And one of the best ways to learn is to have some skin in the game. With no skin in the game,
You're not going to learn.
don't typically stick. I wish I had less skin in the game. I mean,
That's
I put 100 racks in almost at the top.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
You know, people pay more than that to go to college. Thankfully, that money's not like lost, if you will. I just got to wait for my staking ladder, so it's fine. You know, it'll all come back.
Well,
it's just learning, you know.
The similarity between HEX and real estate is, had you hung on to those houses long enough, they would have been in profit eventually because of money printing.
Right.
Like on paper, they would have made money and you would have been able to cash flow them somehow, right? And just like buying 30-cent HEX, if we get this, you know, if we get basically it's like a stock split when Pulse Chain drops. If each of those HEX go to $1, then you've just gotten $2 worth of HEX for 30 cents. So that's why the 7-year time frame and that perspective is so important in investing anywhere. Is thinking this is for the long haul and not investing money that you need in the next 7 years. If you need this money for emergencies, like I did it, but with Bitcoin, I did it all wrong. I put all the money I could into Bitcoin, and you know, I worried about it every day and every night. It gave me ulcers, made me sick to my stomach. Investments shouldn't make you sick. They should get your attention, but they shouldn't make you lose sleep, right? Right. So find money. I tell people, I call it pocket money. You know, if you're buying Starbucks or you know, if you got a subscription to Netflix or something that you can go without for a few months, and you just dump that same money into HEX or learning, then you're going to be so further ahead down the road. Even if you just do it for 2 months or 3 months, you don't have to, you know, put yourself on a financial diet forever and starve and life sucks. You can literally say for 3 months, I'm going to put this money that I'm spending on whatever into there. And you'll never miss that money.
I like that. We've got in fact, I've got a few more questions I would love to get answered. I know that we have an appointment at 10, Corey, a call that you have. How much more time do you have, Hexray?
I've got to go work out.
Okay.
My wife signed me up to this beastmaster of a trade.
Last question that I want to address. And then for any of you guys that watch this, we're going to be on Hexray's show next week. Come and tune in over there and we'll pick up this conversation. There's lots more goodies to be able to address. Address this, if you will, in 3 minutes, since that's what we've got. Corey and I have talked a lot about 15-year stakes and HEX. Some people love them. Some people hate them. I've come to the conclusion, once again, love some humble pie if I'm wrong on this, but I don't see that making a lot of sense if you're willing to pay attention to the market and you have good emotional stamina. And the reason that I say that is, once again, with my example, I could buy 10 times the T shares today in dollar values than I could when I was buying at the top. And so I think that if you're willing to, once again, pay attention and have some emotional stamina, it would make a lot more sense to do HEX stakes on almost more like 4-year cycles where you stake it out roughly, or maybe have a staking ladder where it's roughly ending at or near the time that you think the next crypto top will be, taking profits, waiting another year or so, and then building out another staking ladder for the next cycle. What are your thoughts on that philosophy or idea?
I think it makes a lot of sense because we really don't know what's going to happen in crypto. It's a wild west. The government could come out tomorrow and tell the exchanges where you get your money in and out of the crypto market. They could tell them, we don't want you to cash out any wallets that have touched these coins. Or they could just say, we don't want you to exist. And now the Federal Reserve is in charge of exchanging crypto for dollars. And that would be a nightmare, right? So it is a wild west. We have no idea what's going to happen. And that being said, you're making so much more interest on the 15-year stakes that if you don't put something out there, and HEX works like it's supposed to for 15 years, you're not going to be able to live with yourself, because you're going to be like, because you look at just $50, like back in the day, someone threw 100 HEX into everyone's wallet. We don't know who it was. Someone just threw 100 HEX, like shotgunned them into people's wallets. And I didn't have a 5-5-5-5 stake or the 15-year stake, the Cuatro Cinco stakes. I didn't have one yet. So I thought, this is cool. The hex was, that 100 hex was worth 6 cents on that day. And so, I just threw it out 15 years. In fact, the Ethereum fee to stake it was like 30 cents. So I spent 5 times more in the fee than I did in the value of the coins. And even at its very, very lowest, it's been like 45, 50 bucks. That 6 cents at the very lowest is still some silly amount because of that interest rate that you're getting on it. So I would say play both. Like do something for short term, but whatever you can afford to really just send out there as a lark, or just as a, just seeing if it works. Definitely start at the 15 with whatever you can afford to say goodbye to, really say goodbye to, and then start working on the spikes. Because I wish I had staked according to the 4-year cycle, but a lot of us were staking every week, every month, every year. We're just filling that thing out, building a fence, making these beautiful patterns, and then the Ethereum fee just wrecked us horribly.
Right.
So
guys, I gotta hop off.
Yeah.
Hexray was awesome hanging out with you. I can't wait to be on your show next week. Thank you so much, guys. Awesome show today. This has been great. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Can't wait. Awesome.
Cool. With that, this is probably a great place to wrap up Hexray Vision. We appreciate you. I want to shout out a couple of these last Hex Addict. Send us a fire emoji. Appreciate you being on. Bird Dog jumped in. Bird Dog has been one of our more recent, consistent followers. Appreciate you jumping on, Bird Dog. Bird
Dog was at our Salt Lake party.
Oh, really?
Just recently, yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Okay, very cool. That's great. So we appreciate all you guys that are on. Hexray, anything that you want to end with, or Sheil? We'd love for you to.
If you're on the East Coast, look up Crypto Boot Camp. That's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina this month on the 28th. We're going to go out there and support some other Hexicans in trying to run a boot camp and try to help onboard and teach people this insane learning curve of getting into crypto, how to get in safely, what the steps are. So if you're anywhere around that, check that out. And then also, if you guys want to earn some free crypto, I've got a crypto scavenger hunt where I'm giving away the seed words to a wallet every time we reach a goal as a community. So if Dane here wants to hit a certain subscriber or engagement goal, he lets me know. And when we hit that, we release another word. And someone's going to walk with $100, which isn't a lot, but there's a lot of goals on there. So there might be some bigger prizes down in the future like that. We might be giving away some bigger wallets, if you know what I'm saying.
I like that. And in fact, Corey and we haven't talked about this before with Hexray, but to make it really interesting, we might be open. We'll have to talk more Hexray, but we might be open to growing that pot to help our followers. So that'd be a lot of fun. That'd
be great. Oh, and you can go to hexrayvisioncrypto.com, and it has all of the details of the scavenger hunt there.
Let me put that in the comments. Hexray Vision Crypto.
And then yeah, come check out my stuff. I've got a lot of dad jokes and a lot of fluff. But if you put me on 2X, you can learn something. So come on over to Hexray Vision on YouTube and check out some of my crazy stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. As always, you guys, it helps the algorithm a massive amount. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. My last channel got deleted, which was super frustrating. I had a number of followers there. It is what it is. I'll upload a lot of that old content, which is useful. But we appreciate you being here. If you found value in this interview, the reason that Corey and I are streaming, the reason we're building out a community that we are today is to be the bridge between real estate, crypto, and other entrepreneurs. We've got multiple syndicators in my group. I've got guys that are worth millions of dollars that know this game backwards and forwards. I've got CPAs, attorneys for real estate purposes, all that type of stuff. So if you are one of those people that needs to plug in, find opportunities to be able to use depreciation for tax benefits, specifically with crypto, so you're not getting slaughtered when it comes to the IRS, I know how to do that. I've done it for years. We can help you in my group. Feel free to send me or Corey a DM or comment on this video. We'd love to jump on a call, provide any value that we can. And if it makes sense for you to jump in the community, we'd have you along for that ride as well. So with that, it was great to have you on Hexaway Vision. Appreciate everybody else that joined, and we will see you guys later.